This is my attempt to interface Pico 3.3 volt logic with old-fashioned TTL 5 volt TTL logic, and that's a 7401 quad 2 input NAND gate, and it's wired up as an SR flip-flop, which is one of those things where they cross over. And I'm going to show just show this with a set and a reset. I'm not sure which is which. It depends which is your output. I think at the moment I've got an LED wired up with a pull-up. So I can, that was reset, I guess. I can set it with the right button and reset it with left. Set, no, reset, set, reset, set, reset. So it's like a 1-bit memory. And the Raspberry Pi is reading noughts and ones. And if I set it, it's reading a 1, and if I clear it, it's reading noughts. But the Raspberry Pi is also pulsing 2 output pins, which are these 2 green wires, and they go through a thing called it's an op amp. It's a pair of op amps, so there's one for each wire, and these op amps raise the logic level according to a circuit like this. There's a voltage divider into the negative part of the comparator, and then this thing is capable of rail to rail, so but you kind of hope that it doesn't. Well, on the input, yes, I get my inputs and outputs mixed up. So the input is not 5 volt TTL, that's wrong. It's 3. That's what's confused me. It's 3.3, and the output is 5. I'm getting everything upside down all the time now. When I do maths, I get less than or equal to is greater than or equal to. So anyway, I can change these 2 wires in input from the output of the op amp instead of from the buttons. So the buttons toggle the state, and they're tied up with these pull-up resistors. They're pulled high. So the buttons pull low for a brief pulse, and that switches the state. And the Raspberry Pi is doing the same on these two wires. So if I put that into the output of the op amp, and I put that into the other output, it's now the Raspberry Pi that's toggling the bit. So I've added 1 bit of memory to the Raspberry Pi. And the only thing that I don't quite understand is for going the other way, I have a NAND gate. One of the NAND gates in the top corner there is wired as an inverter by tying the two inputs together. And I then have a pull-up resistor. And my calculation is that when this output is low, well, I don't know what happens. When the output is high, I get something like 3.4 volts out into the Pico. I don't know what it is. When it's low, it seems like I get something like 2.2 volts, which seems to be enough to be low on the Pico. But for some reason, without that pull-up, without that 2.2K pull-up, this doesn't work. And that's the bit that mystifies me.